shining bright lotus.
In the Song of Zazen on page 39 in the Sutra book. So if you want to follow along, grab your Sutra book. And we've traditionally done this before all Dharma reflections or all teishos. And beautifully today, actually, Nanda is going to be giving a Dharma reflection on the Song of Zazen. So how perfectly this will work out. So page 39 in your sutra books. Song of Zazen. Sentient beings are from the very beginning Buddhas. It is like ice and water. Apart from water, no ice can exist. Outside sentient beings, where do we find the Buddhas? Not knowing how near the truth is, we seek it far away. What a pity. We are like a person who, in the midst of water, cries in thirst so imploringly. We are like the child of a rich home who has wandered away among the poor. The cause of our circling through the 6 worlds is that we are on the dark paths of ignorance, going astray further and further in the darkness. When are we able to be free from birth and death? As for Zazen practice of the Mahayana, it is beyond all our praise. The virtues of perfection, such as charity, morality, and the invocation of the Buddha's name, confession and ascetic discipline, and many other good deeds of merit, all these return to this. Even those who have practiced meditation for just one sitting will see all their twisted karma erased. Nowhere will they find twisted paths, but the Pure Land will be near at hand. With a reverent heart, if we listen to this truth, even once, and praise it and gladly embrace it, we will surely be blessed most infinitely. If we concentrate within and testify to the truth that self-nature is no nature, we have really gone beyond vain words. The gate of the oneness of cause and effect is open. The path of non-duality and true clarity runs straight ahead. To regard the form of no form as form, whether going or returning, we cannot be any place else. To regard the thought of no thought as thought, whether singing or dancing, we are the voice of the Dharma. How boundless the clear sky of Samadhi, how transparent the perfect moonlight of the fourfold wisdom. At this moment, what more need we seek, as the truth eternally reveals itself? This very place is the lotus paradise. This very body is the Buddha.
Oh, good day to you all. So, Song of Zazen. Well, one thing that has come up for me about the Song of Zazen and reciting it, and also reciting or chanting other things, is the importance of saying things out loud, like we just did the morning service. So when we speak those words out loud, we embody those words. So for example, with the Song of Zazen, it comes from Hakuin, who was a very strong character in the Rinzai Zen lineage, and he reformed a lot of things within Zen. And I think, what was it? I wrote it down, 1685 he was born. So they are his words, but we can make those words our own. Just like when we say, Atta Deepa, I am this light. We are this light. So then we embody them. So I'm just saying that as a reminder, because I've been doing that more now before my sitting practice. I might do the whole morning service, or I might do 5 minutes of something. And it could also be a poem or even a letter that you've received. I received a text message from my cousin's wife yesterday, and I was recently there because my uncle is very sick. So I went to England for about 4 days. And she wrote me the most beautiful message. And so I spoke it out loud in my space here and just felt those words in my heart. So it's just an invitation that you might like to experiment with. So, well, Hakuin has been visiting me. I have really connected with Hakuin, and I've been reading a lot of books. One book I got recently is called Hakuin's Song of Zazen by Yamada Mumon Roshi, translated by Norman Waddle. So there's lots of other things online as well, and just sometimes these things happen. Hakuin has been around, so how great is that? So recently some friends have been staying here, which have been great because they've all been meditators. So every morning there would be 4 or 5 of us in our Zendo, which is great. And so we'd have discussions. And in the discussion about a month ago, the line was all beings are from the very beginning Buddhas. Somehow I went, oh, that's a title for the Dharma talk. So I sometimes latch onto a title and then think, oh, God, what am I going to say about that? Well, I stayed with it. And all beings are from the very beginning Buddhas. Well, that line, I used to sing that line as just that line, sometimes on my own and sometimes with other people, and we would do a harmony on the same line but in harmony, and I just loved it. And I didn't know at the time that it was from the Song of Zazen. I didn't know that. I didn't even know Song of Zazen. And it went something like this. All beings are from the very beginning Buddhas, Buddhas, Buddhas. All beings are from the very beginning Buddhas, Buddhas, Buddhas. So that's lovely, and I love it when I sing that. I feel it in my heart. So what happens inside you when you hear that? What happens inside me when I hear that phrase, that line, all beings are from the very beginning Buddhas? Well, I do feel that it's true. Inherently, all of us are from the very beginning Buddhas. We all have Buddha nature. So when I feel into that, I go, oh, great, isn't that wonderful? I'm full of joy and I love it. And then there's another voice that that gets a bit afraid. I get afraid, like, oh gosh, I better not be saying that. People are going to think I'm condoning, I'm saying that some folk have Buddha nature. How is that possible with all the terrible things that happen? So there's a little bit of a rub comes and they meet, and through a lot of practice, I have to say, over a long time and a lot of angst in my heart, I know this to be true. And this other little one comes up, or sometimes big, especially at the moment in the world. It's like, well, yes, but not that one over there. Oh my gosh. Oh, they're doing such terrible things and they're so unkind and cruel and hateful. It's not possible. So I invite you to reflect on this. How does this land for you? Yes, that's how it is for me, somewhat. And the core thing is that I know this to be true, that we are all Buddhas. And it reminds me of a story, the story of Angulimala. So some of you might have heard this story. Enzo is saying, yes, he's heard this story. Okay. And let's see if I can remember. So Angulimala means garland of fingers. And Angulimala lived at the time of the Buddha, and he was a Brahmin scholar, so I read. And then something happened for him, something with his teacher or something where he just got in a biggest mess and he went astray and lost his way. And he would kill people. And he liked to take a finger of his victim and put it in a garland around his neck. And so I guess basically you'd say he's a serial killer. He was a serial killer. Holy moly. So the Buddha heard about this fellow, Angulimala, and he said, I want to go and meet Angulimala. I need to go and meet him. And so he knew that he lived in the forest, or he'd spend a lot of time in the forest, and people said, oh, no, you mustn't do that, you mustn't go. And he said, no, it's fine, I'm going in the forest. So he went to the forest, he walked to the forest, and he was very calm, he was a Buddha, he was just enjoying the forest, and Angulimala saw him from a distance. And so he followed him, and then he thought, my next victim. And he started to run after the Buddha. And the Buddha was walking just at a regular pace. And he kept walking. And Angulimala was running. And there was some kind of magic happened, or protection, because as fast as he ran, he could not catch up with the Buddha. He couldn't catch up with him. So he said, stop, monk, stop, to the Buddha. He shouted out, and the Buddha did stop. And he turned around and he said, I have stopped Angulimala. It is you who must stop. And Angulimala was like, oh, he was so shocked that somebody with such presence and with such calmness would look at him, and he was about to take his sword and kill him, and he didn't seem bothered at all. He just never seen anything like it. He was just awestruck. And so he asked the Buddha, he said, tell me, what do you mean? And the Buddha explained that he'd stopped harming others and found peace, while Angulimala was still in a cycle of violence and suffering. And so Angulimala was just, he said, he threw his sword down and he said, please initiate me, please. And so the Buddha did initiate him, and he went to live in the monastery, in the monastic community with him. So anyway, that's the story of Angulimala. Now, why am I saying that? Well, because all beings are from the very beginning Buddhas, including Angulimala. Well, nowadays, okay, if you're a serial killer, the odds are that you're probably not going to get sent to the monastery. Well, yes, that's true. And when I was doing research, I found that story on a site that was for Zen practitioners that worked in prisons. And there was one that worked with people on death row. Some of them had taken Jukai, and they were changing, they were on a path of redemption. And so this is intense, deep stuff to consider, I think, and it's very important. And I also remember my mum worked in a prison, a men's prison, and she taught, I know she was hired to teach English or something, but she did whatever she wanted, and she taught meditation. And I went in a couple of times. I was allowed to go in. I got permission, and so I was taken with the guards, and we went into this big cell, and then they locked us in, my mum, and then they had guards in that cell with the guys, and they loved her, and she really worked with them, and even the guards, it was like the men knew that the guards had the job to do, but the guards, they involved themselves in the discussions, and they realized the work that was happening there it was truly inspiring. And the men, they wrote a petition because there was an award for outstanding work in prisons, which usually the managers would do, and they would kind of nominate each other. I don't know if it was an annual thing or what, but anyway, she got the award, and she went to Buckingham Palace to get this award. So these things can happen. Anyway, so where does this sit with you? Where does it sit with you? So let's go a little further into the Song of Zazen. So not knowing how near the truth is, we seek it far away. What a pity. So that phrase for me is all the years that I thought everybody else or somebody else knows the truth and that they know the answers. Well, they might know the answers, but I thought, they can tell me, or I can get it from them. Well, they can guide me and everything, but bottom line is that I have to find it out for myself in here. So that's how that is for me. We seek it far away. What a pity, because actually it's here inside of us. So the cause of our circling through the 6 worlds is that we are on the dark paths of ignorance, going astray further and further in the darkness. So this would be when we are missing that Buddha nature and getting all lost in all these things. So I wonder, well, what are these 6 realms? So I looked it up, and so the 6 realms, what I discovered was the first one is hell, which is pain and physical and mental pain. The second one, the animal realm, is to do with survival and insecurity and survival of the fittest, and dog eats dog, eat or be eaten, like really got to survive. And the third one is asuras, which is to do with ambition. It's dominated by ambition, a state where we always want more. What we have is never enough. There's endless competition, and it's very tight, and it's really not peaceful. The fourth one is the hungry ghost, which is to do with neediness. When we have a sense of lack, we're never satisfied, or in extreme cases, we get addicted to all kinds of stuff like phones and sugar and nicotine, or I got to have another smoke, give me a smoke, or whatever, or many things. We all have things. and we consume more than is essential. The fifth one is heaven, the pleasure state. Well, you'd think that, well, heaven, that must be pretty good, But actually, what I read was that in many Zen circles, it's considered that's the most difficult realm because we get stuck in it, we get complacent. It feels good, and so we don't want to leave the realm, and we get sort of cozy in it. And the last one is the human realm, which contains all of those other realms, and from this realm we can get to see the dark roads. We can get to see, but there's a possibility from the human realm that we can get to see the dark roads that we walk on, and then there's a chance to move in a different way and to live in a different way. So that's the 6 realms. That's in the cause of our circling through the 6 worlds, it says in our version. So I'm picking the ones that jumped out at me. So even those who have practiced meditation for just one sitting will see all their twisted karma erased. Wow, just one sitting, eh? Well, we did one sitting today, so that's pretty good. And I can actually see that this is correct, though, because it reminds me in Mondo, and that was what Mondo has been for me. It's really important because it's like suddenly like a veil. Oh, yes. And we meet each other and we meet ourselves. And then if it's a bit scary or we're not used to it, it goes away, but we've seen it, we've felt it. So, and then if we include a meditation practice and we start to have little spaces maybe of, just being quiet, being at peace, then there's an opening then. And then as in another phrase, it says, I'm jumping now, so the gate of the oneness of cause and effect is open. The path of non-duality and true clarity runs straight ahead. So opening, okay, so you get the opening and then you can keep going a little way, straight ahead. And then you get, ooh, but the fact that we've actually experienced this means that we can remember and, oh, okay, so we can keep going on this path. So, and also, I know what it reminded me of when I was looking at all this, the Leonard Cohen song, Anthem, which goes, there's a line that says, ring the bells that still can ring, forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. There is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. Isn't that wonderful? So just a little crack, you can kind of feel it, can't you? And the light comes in. So that might be that opening or that veiled opening. So how am I doing for time? Okay, so all right. So at this moment, this is at the end of the Song of Zazen that's in our book, in our sutra book. At this moment, what more need we seek as the truth eternally reveals itself? This very place is the Buddhist paradise. This very body is the Buddha. So if I know that this body is the Buddha, somewhere, if I know that, I can see from that place. And if I can see from that place, then I can look out around me and see that this place is the lotus paradise. Well, it so happens I'm looking out the window over there now and it's really nice. There's a forest and I do live in a great place and there's a lot of nature and trees and green and things. And, like, for example, I was in London recently, and, and big city, and, and there was like these alleys next to through the houses, and sometimes depending on where you are, there might be a lot of garbage and, cigarette ends and cans and lots of people sitting on the street. I remember we parked the car and we went to the hospital, and there was this guy there, and yeah, there were a lot of people in London sleeping out, and then the Lotus Paradise. And if we can be with each other and see each other in the Lotus Paradise, how wonderful. So, let's see. This very place, the Lotus Paradise, this very body, the Buddha. So, thank you. I invite you to reflect on all beings are from the very beginning Buddhas. Thanks.
Shining bright lotus.